At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The following audio contains the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join Optavia, but please note they have not been verified and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the US or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with Optavia. Additionally, this audio may contain income or earning representations of some independent Optavia coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with Optavia is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Optavia acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to Optavia coaches in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent Optavia coaches operating in the US, please see the Optavia Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of US coaches under the US Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent Optavia coaches operating in the US under the US Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in Health, the Optavia team.
Throw that poll up there for me if you would, as we step into a healthy, fresh 2021. We're gonna throw a poll up here in just a second. As we do, we want you, Karen and I, we're just real people, just authentic people. We want you to answer this poll. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we want you to know that we lost that weight, but we gained so much in return. So we're going to talk about that tonight. So the poll for you today is, how would you rate your 2020? And I know for some of us, we just think it was a hot mess, but we could learn so much. So how would you rate it? Would you say that you had an extraordinary year? Or would you say that it was a challenging year, but you learned a lot? Or would you end it with saying it was the worst year ever? Let's just bring on 2021. I think it has to do with perspective and how you walk away and realize that, there was a lot of things that were not under our control. But how we view that and what we learn from it really helps us walking into the new year.
Well, I'm watching what's happening throughout the landscape of America, around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the deal.
Yeah.
This is your moment you can look back. And Dr. A said something really cool to me one day when we were talking, and I actually wrote about it. He says, you cannot go back and make your past happy. So no matter what 2020 was, in just a minute, we're going to see these poll results. But I always say this, that your past is not your prison, it's your university. Right. And you have to make up your mind. Here's a big thing for you. You have survived 100% of your worst days.
That's right.
You're still here. You still matter.
Right.
So for just a second, would you guys go ahead and bring those results up for us really quick? Because we just want to see them before we share the agenda with you.
Yeah.
They're going to bring up the poll results. And as they bring those up, it'll give you an idea where most people are at. Most people are ready to, they're just like, we're done.
Well,
we're
for
done.
a lot of us, we're just loving the sound of our feet walking away from 2020 and starting new. So here's the results, how you would rate your 2020. There was about 18% that said they had an extraordinary year. About 73% of you said that it was a challenging year, but you learned a lot. And then about 9% said it was the worst year ever. Bring on 2021.
Worst year. Well, I'm going to tell you, we've learned something over the last few years, and that is the obstacle is the way. So let me tell you about our agenda real quick, because we don't want to waste any of your time. Your time matters. Don't forget, following this first portion, this first 30 minutes, we're going to have an incredible time hearing from some folks to share their story, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into what we do. But just the agenda is really, tonight is mindset. Understanding how the habits of health can help you create a fresh start in 2021. And a skill set you're going to be learning is learning how to use the Habits of Health Transformation System as a guide to create optimal health. I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't have been able to do this and change our life and lose the 72 pounds. And we're both 51 years old. We're grandparents. And I've traveled about 3 million miles around the world. But I would not have been able to do this without the Habits of Health Transformation, because it shifted me. The stop, challenge, and choose mindset changed everything, because I was addicted to food. But then the action is complete the well-being evaluation. We're going to talk more about that. But as we get into this, I just want to take a moment. And we get the honor. Go ahead, read that.
Yeah. So I just want to share with you one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson. And it simply says, all things are possible. You have the capability over time with specific focus, guidance and practice to become the dominant force in your life. I think in the 5 years that we've been coaching, I think that has become such a true statement for us and an awakening that has taken place. But there are 3 components to that system. It's the habits of health system that Dr. A has come up with for you, step by step, how to take back your life. There's the life book that is a journey of all your experiences in taking back your health, where you can journal all those experiences. And then there's the app that you can go on and that will daily keep you on track. It is a proven system that if you will follow it, it will literally change your life.
You know, you meet a lot of people in your life, and there's what I call a daily person you might meet at Walmart. There's a seasonal person that's there for a season, but then you make a lifelong friend.
That's right.
Someone that you know is the real deal and the most authentic deal. Well, I have the opportunity to introduce that person to you tonight. And I'm probably going to make him blush, and I'll hear about it later, but I've got to share this with you, because what I love about Dr. A is not only was he valedictorian of his medical class, not only was he the 10th board certified physician in critical care, and he served as director of surgical critical care at Grandview Medical Center. He has an incredible resume. In fact, key physicians and scientists around the world lean towards him. He's a New York Times bestseller, but also he left his practice. He did something crazy. I've heard the story of loading up in the car, and he and his precious wife, Lori, and their family, and just walking away so that he could found what we're doing today, which is Optavia. And he left that practice, and he said, you know what? He devoted his life to optimal well-being, not just ending up on a table somewhere, having to have surgery or more medication, but hey, what if we created a better way of life? Dr. A, I want to bring you on. We love you so much. You've become family to us. And even in some tough family situations this last year, you were there for us. And I want to say thank you. But Dr. A, come on and greet everybody, because we get to interview you tonight.
Great. Awesome, Pat. Thank you, Karen. Great. Happy New Year for everybody that's on this tonight. And, you know, today just kind of is a big exclamation mark on the uncertainty of the world we live in. And the one thing is certain, and I love that quote that you love so much, Karen, because we can become the dominant force in our own life. And when we take back the power, when we actually commit to radical responsibility, everything in our life changes. And so, you know, that whole idea is how we can help people. You know, there's a lot of people out there that need guidance, need help. And we've created a community of people that are focusing on creating what they want, not focusing on solving all the problems, pointing fingers at other people, but really focusing on what we can do to create better health and well-being. Because when we're healthy, physically, mentally, and we're in position to now organize our life around what matters, everything changes. And the thing I love about it, it's available to anybody that raises their hand. So I'm up for it. Let's talk. I mean, you know, this call is interesting because I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. And I remember the physician call and the Habits of Health call as they started off years ago. I used to do this call every Wednesday for year after year. And I have so many amazing people now, our leaders that have stepped up and are really masters at helping others. And so it's fun to kind of go down memory lane and kind of really look at what we can do to help others. And there's a whole group of people right now that I don't think have ever been more ready to change their health and change their life.
Well, you know, and Dr. A, in just a moment, you're going to go into the microenvironment of health. And I even brought my jar with me. I went and got this. I went and got it. I even got some Texas rocks in here. But I remember the teaching you're about to share. We were all together in Salt Lake or in Sundance. And it so radically shifted me and my mindset. And so we're super fired up about that as you begin to move into that. And bottom line is just talk about is the jar full. You go for it, Dr. A.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a metaphor. It's a story. Many of you on tonight may have heard it before. It was done by a college professor. They're not sure where, they're not sure when. So because of that, I felt that, you know, what a great way to make a metaphor, an analogy to help people start thinking more about their own health and their own life. And so, you know, the professor comes into the room and basically takes out this jar and he puts in these big rocks and he looks at it and fills it up to the top with the big rocks. And he basically says, okay, is this jar full? And the students look over and say, yeah, of course it's full. So he takes out a pail of pebbles, takes the pebbles, pours it in, shakes it up, and then the pebbles all settle in. He goes, okay, is the jar full now? And they look at him and get closer and say, yeah. So then he takes out some sand and he puts the sand in and does the same thing. And then one last time he says, and now everybody looks and the thing's all the way up to the top and they go, yeah, of course it's full. And then the last thing he does is it takes and fills it up full of water. So, really, that's kind of how our life is. We spend so much time majoring in the minors, really spending time focusing on every emotional thing that happens to us, all the things that people say, all the things that people do, that we really don't focus on the things that really matter. And once you have all this little stuff in your life, you really can't focus on the big things. So basically the metaphor is that the jar is this microenvironment of health. We can't change what happened today in Washington. We can't change the food industry, but we can change our choices that we make. And we can create a protective bubble by becoming part of this incredible community we have, where we actually come together and we actually help each other, protect each other, so that we, within our own world, we have the things that are necessary. Now, the whole idea, there's 6 macro habits. There's 6 key areas. And when I really looked at it, people try to lose weight. Basically, they know they need to go exercise more. They know they need to eat healthier. They know they need to move more. They know they need to sleep better. But they don't realize that all these things, just making micro changes in each one of these together, sums up to being able to change everything. So the 6 macro habits literally cover the key areas that build optimal health and well-being. And though you're not going to do every single one of them perfect every day, over time, we actually automate these new behaviors. As we start off in life, you learned along the way the habits that you have today. Some of those habits are serving you. Some of them help you stay relatively healthy. Some of them help you in certain ways. Other ones don't help you. And some of them are actually habits of disease that actually move us in the wrong direction. And, they're not going to be optimal because we learn them from different people along the way to solve problems. So we have a series of habits that are automated. 45% of our day is filled up with things we do we don't even think about. And it's necessary because there's no way we have enough power in the front of our brain to be able to make all the correct choices. So we automate those. So the whole idea of our system is over time to help people decide what they want their future to look like, and then inform them in the day what are the choices they can start moving to put them in the right direction. So I'll just take one example. If you're not sleeping well, you're more likely to get up in the morning and stop at one of those drive-thrus that sell the round, really thick pastry things along with coffee, because you're not sleeping well and you need it to get you started in the day. And when you do that, you're actually now stimulating insulin, you're raising your blood sugar, and you're starting to gain weight. As you gain weight, now you don't sleep as well because you have airway obstruction. All these things feed off each other, and we make little baby choices in the key areas, and we have the support necessary, and we do these things consistently. As you said, the Habits of Health Transformational System is designed to help anybody raise their hand, write their story. As you said, Karen, in the Life book, they literally start by writing their current story. They do an evaluation to see where they are, and then over the next year, we focus on writing a new story in 26 elements, in baby steps, starting to help them understand how to change their trajectory, to change their stars, and change their life. So very excited. What are the questions you guys have for me?
Well, Dr. A, one of the things that my favorite part, I'll never forget when you talked about the Labrador, the human brain, the Labrador brain, the lizard brain. And, you talked about that one area of your aspect of your brain that causes you to possibly make bad decisions, that it's compulsory. And when we look at those habits, I'll tell you, we both have favorites. And obviously I think our both was Healthy Mind, because we realized we had a very unhealthy mind. Opinions mattered more than our health, and then also Healthy Motion. But one of the things that Karen and I began to focus on is you made this statement, Dr. A, in Habits of Health in the 2.0 guide. You said by making a small change in each of the 6 NEAT categories, because there's a section on the NEAT categories. And if you don't have this book, get this book, because it really is your guide. But you're making secondary choices that support your primary goal to increase healthy momentum. And I'll never forget, you made a statement that when you go to bed at night, you actually put your workout shoes beside the bed. And the light bulb went on for me. And I said, okay, because what I would do is I would get up. I'd already taken my health back, was still living out, eating 3 times a day, walking, because 85%, you wrote about this, 85% of people that do not have a behavioral plan don't make it on a quote diet. But, speak to that, Dr. A, because that so shifted me. Sitting in a chair in front of you, I went, okay, because I have a tendency to get up and wander and dive into business, and it shifted me.
Yeah, no, and it's really important. Self-automation is the key to success. It's not discipline. And if you look at the people that are the healthiest, that are the most successful, they are automated. They have self-automated themselves. They do the things without even thinking about them anymore. They have built the habits of health, the habits of business, the habits of success into their lives. They spend the time to make sure they don't ignore that. So for me, stumbling over my tennis shoes first thing in the morning, basically, I just put them on. I can't walk beyond them, because if I do, basically, then I'm looking back and thinking, okay, this is something I do. And the whole idea is that a habit loop is designed in the basal ganglia. I'm going to put on my doctor's hat for a minute. The basal ganglia in our brain, and it's called chunking. We automate things. So think about when you drive your car. When you drive your car, when you started, because I know I have 2 teenagers that are now past that stage, thank goodness, with many fender benders. But bottom line is, when you first start, you got to know how to use the accelerator. You have to use the brake. You need to know the turn signal. You need to know how much to turn. You need to miss the curb. You got to look at the lights. You got to know to look in the rearview mirror. And every one of those things has to be learned. And when you start out, hopefully you're in a place where you're not going to hurt anybody else or yourself. But over time, over years of driving, you've now chunked all those things. And when you get up in the morning, you turn out and you go out of your driveway, you turn the same way, whichever way is taking you to work or whatever you do in the morning. And you are now driving that car. And if you're on your, hopefully hands-free cell phone, all of a sudden you realize, and I've had this happen all the time, I'll get home, I'll be at my, my garage, and basically looking at the garage door thinking, how did I get here? Because
Right.
I don't even remember driving home. I basically, although I did it safely, I basically was on automatic. And that's what habits of health are. They're about taking the little baby steps, making sure we have a cue to start that behavior, having a routine, and then being rewarded in that routine so that we make the changes. And what we've done is we spent 20 years now designing so that there's a lot of things that we know are better for us, but because they don't give us immediate feedback, see, the cost of bad habits basically is in the future. The cost of good habits is in the present. And that's the key determinant between those two things. Let me say that one more time. It takes time to build in the habits of health, the things that are going to help you, but the rewards are normally in the future. Bad habits, the reward is in the present. The bad part happens in the future, right? So here's the thing. We actually, in the transformational cycle, and we talk about it in both the elements within the life book as well as in the book itself, is I created this idea of the transformational cycle. In that, we have the immediate things that actually are better, even though the main goals are in the future. So for instance, let's say normally you have a cheeseburger for lunch. You could stop by the Golden Arches and have a cheeseburger for lunch. Bottom line is, if you now sense after lunch, how did I feel when I went back to work, or when I had to do something or write something or figure out something, and how do I feel? Versus if you had a salad. And I will guarantee that you feel slower, sluggish, that post-alkaline tide if you have the cheeseburger and fries versus if you had a salad and a healthy piece of fish or bread, or fish or chicken, something nice and easy. So bottom line is, there are immediate things that are a bonus. We know in the morning, if we exercise, we have 12 hours of increasing alertness, consciousness, being able to use our executive functions, figure things out, how we feel throughout the day. We don't get sluggish. We may not need a nap. Or if we do need a nap, we know now to make it 12 minutes or less. Or take a longer one if it happens to be one of those days when you didn't sleep well the night before. Everything that we do, we now automate, so you do it automatically. And over time, the power of success in your health, your well-being, and certainly at a time like this when everything is changing, is through building the habits of health. And what's nice about it, none of them are that hard. And I'll just say real quickly, I know you got a lot of other people you want to get on here, but I talk about the micro habits. Micro habit, by definition, is something that's so easy to do that you don't need any motivation to actually do it. And that's important, because you may be, you're just coming out of the new year. You may be really excited about improving your health, your well-being, or success as a coach or as a client in our model. But the bottom line is, it's doing it consistently every day that builds in that habit loop, that creates the reinforcement that makes it happen. And so, I had a grandmother. She was 75 years old. She lost 100 pounds. She basically said, I want to, what do you want to do? She said, I'd love to lift my grandkids, hold my grandkids. And I said to her, okay, what can you do with your upper body? And she says, oh, I can do push-ups. So I said on a Zoom call, get down and do a push-up. She got down there. All I heard was a bunch of groaning. I couldn't see her because the camera was above her. But she goes, Doctor, I don't think I can do that. I said, can you go on the wall and push off the wall? And she said, yes, I can. So anyway, we settled in and I said, okay, I want you every day, after you go to the restroom, right when you get up, I want you to go to the wall and do a push-up against the wall. If so, I built in the cue right after she relieved herself. Second thing, do one, but if you feel like it, do more. And what we find is it's the getting ready to do something. It's just like automatically putting those tennis shoes on, that cue that has me immediately go down and start working out. Same thing with her. She did the push-ups. And over time, we took her, well, you may say, well, against the wall, how's that going to help? Well, over time, we took her to the side of a desk. Eventually, we got her down on average. Within 3 months, she was doing 5 to 10 real push-ups a day. And she called me and had a big smile on a picture showing me both her grandkids. She was able to hold both of them. That's the idea, is that we're here to help in one little healthy habit at a time change everything in your life.
And see, I just love that, because that is what I love about this plan is Pat and I love the healthy motion. We love all of the healthy eating and hydration, but that healthy mindset shifts everything. And I mean, I love it because before on the plan, I found that I was minoring on the majors and majoring on the minors all the time, but taking back that mindset helped me to focus on what was really important. I love, because you have a statement that you always say is, the world is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And I love that. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because we need to realize that our mindset really does set the tone.
Yeah, and it's all about emotional agility. When I left critical care, and thanks for that kind introduction earlier, Pat, but a pioneer in that area, I thought I really had settled into something that was going to change the world. And I saved people's lives, and I was pretty good at it, but I only helped a few people, and I never helped anybody create health. And so, as I started really exploring and looking at, almost 70% of us overweight or obese, I realized, okay, so that's one of the big problems we have to work on. But what it's led me to over the last 2 decades is emotional mismanagement is the leading cause of death in the world. Emotional mismanagement. And bottom line, you think, what? But it's actually true. Stress-related events, cardiovascular, all these things happen directly from our emotional mismanagement. It's the inability to handle our surroundings, to build internal equilibrium and external stability so we can manage all the things that happen. So, if you look at, and I'm only picking today because, in 1814, the British came in and destroyed our capital. Okay. Today we had fellow Americans do that. That didn't happen. And a lot of those people, by the way, I'm not saying the ones that actually, the 1,500 people that actually caused the damage, but all those people around there, they are dealing with emotional stress. They're mismanaging themselves and not handling it right because the world has become so controlling and out of control. They're in desperation. And the reality is, if we really can stop, challenge, and choose, and you mentioned that this is technology I basically designed about 15 years ago, but if we can use and understand how our brain works, and when we're emotionally challenged, usually we just react to something. We either go out and eat a hot fudge sundae, or eat a whole bag of M&Ms, or yell at our kids, or do all these things that 20 minutes later we feel bad and actually start beating ourselves up. So it's a negative loop instead of just stop, challenge, why am I feeling this way, and choose an outcome that really matters. And when we really focus on that, the whole idea is if we can give ourselves some room, things are going to happen in all our lives, and not all of them are pleasant. But the things that happen, if your response can be modified so you don't react from these deep-seated emotions, but instead of what is the outcome I want, you can modify and change the outcome of almost anything. And so, that's a key area. It's something we focus on. And, when you put your little survey up there, and I looked at those 3, clearly A is mine, or the first one was mine. I thought it was an incredible year. Now, I feel so sorry, and as a fellow physician, for physicians, I have so many friends that are physicians, what they dealt with, and the people that have obviously been affected negatively by the pandemic. And, obviously my blessings and my prayers go out to all of them. For many people, it was a very tragic year. But for myself, in dealing in the response to it, getting to spend time with my girls that are both in college, building those strong bonds of family relationships, being able to help so many people, and to watch our Optavia team, our community respond almost like water on a duck's back for the majority of them being able to handle, and not just handle, but reach out and be in service of others, not get caught in the drama triangle where it was all about them, but actually reaching out and realizing it that we are fit for purpose as coaches, and basically our clients now have the technology through the Habits Health transformational technology. We now have the ability with this human transformational technology to make the changes so we can actually not just cope, but actually thrive during these unsettled times and lead the way. And, you know, a couple of days ago, I put together a little, my thoughts and talked about this is the year when Optavia, with what we're doing, can change the world. And we need so many people. We're here for anyone that raises their hand and wants better health and well-being in their life, and wants to, hopefully many of you want to reach out and use this transformational system, these macro habits, to help us give people the strategies, the tools, the support, and the community where they can work together to help change first their own health, their own life, and then reach out and help others. You know, as they say, as you get on a plane, they say, you know, for young kids, put the oxygen mask on first. And that's what we've done together. You know, Pat, you and Karen have helped people all over the world for many years. And now just, you know, we got to spend, you know, before all this happened, we got to spend time sitting on a boat and really talking about, you know, the evolution of what we're going to do together as a community. And that's all becoming a reality. And you guys are a great part of that. So thank you so much.
You know, thank you, Dr. A. That was a shifting moment for us.
Yeah.
So the structural tension of realizing we can do something bigger.
Yeah.
We can shift lives. We can change lives. You know, you've talked about this, that the different technology out there, that we're in human technology and we want to be the fastest growing company in the world. But, you know, Dr. A, one of the things that I love is that every time you're with us, or we're with you, or with our whole community, because I love our community. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. This community, through the whole pandemic, we all hung together. We locked in. We said, let's go change some lives. But you got a poll.
Yeah, because I want to ask everybody that's watching tonight, because that was so amazing. It gave so many people so much to think about. I want to do a poll right now, because I want to ask everybody that's watching, what is the status of your jar tonight? What is the status? Is it I'm learning how to fill my jar? Or is it my jar is filling up nicely? Or would you say that my jar is filling up and I am coaching others to do the same? So those are the three options. What would you say tonight? Are you like Dr. A and you can say this year has been amazing? Or what would you say tonight? What is the status of your jar?
Well, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. I think about this. I get under personal conviction when I start reading over because I'm always working on one. I'm always having to work on, especially sleep, especially during football season, Dr. A. And I get caught up and I have the sleep problem. And I'm like, then the next day I'm slow. And so we've said, okay, let's go to bed earlier because you're gonna watch Sports Center at that point.
That's right. Creating that habit of getting to bed.
And the blue light and all of that. But here's what I want to say to everybody. Nobody's perfect, but it's about the journey. You know, there's even a place in the opening of your Habits of Health book where you can write out your goals. And then at the very end, at the epilogy, I would say it wrong, and I'm an author, and but you're able to go in and put your final results.
Well, let's see what those results are.
Okay, bring these results up. Here we go.
The question was, what is the status of your jar? And there were 51% of you that said, I'm learning how to fill my jar. Then there was, I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses, 16% that says my jar is filling up nicely. And then 32% said my jar is filling up and I am coaching others to do the same.
Now that's mine.
Right.
That's the one that fires me up because
right.
we've been able to see this massive team join in, and you know, we're all going to be together. We're believing, Dr. A, this summer when all of us come together in Atlanta at the State Farm Arena, and all of them are the number 3 part right there. They're like, so roughly 1/3 of this call tonight is coaches saying, I'm in, I'm helping, I'm paying it forward. And you know what? Bottom line, coaching, I'm going to say it in the next call, but coaching, I had to become a coach because I just don't believe in being a hypocrite at all as most parts of my life. And I knew that if I coached others, it would force me to stay on.
But you know, I love it because your life book is just that. It is a life book. It takes you through making these changes. It lays it out so perfectly for you to go on a journey. And on page 18 of the life book, you get the opportunity to set goals, to write out your experiences, to refer back to the Habits of Health, and to reach out to your coach to help you.
Well, and then you're also able to jump in and do a well-being evaluation under those categories: healthy body, healthy mind, healthy finances, and you can do that well-being evaluation in your book. And here's the last thing we'll say about that, Dr. A, is, and we're gonna do one more poll really quick, because there's the evaluation. You can find that in your book on page 34 and 35. But here's the last poll, and we'll say it to you. Will you implement something you learned? Will you implement something you learned from this? Yes, I definitely will. Yes, I probably will. No, I'm just not ready yet.
And I would encourage you to stop, challenge, and choose before you answer that poll. Think about what you're answering, because will you take the next step and implement something that you learned from tonight's community time? And I hope that all of you will say, yes, I definitely will. But I think you have to ask yourself that honest question: what am I going to take away from this call?
So let's see the poll results if you answered them, and we're bringing this particular part of the call to a close, Dr. A. But wow, let's see. Yes, I definitely
love
will.
That. There were so many,
Come on.
85% that says I will definitely implement something from this call. Because as you walk through that life book, as you're walking through the habits of health, as you're taking back your health, and as you're changing those things, making those daily adjustments and habits to your life, you are going to see such amazing results take place.
You know, Dr. A, we want to thank you for giving us your time tonight. And for really, I always say it to you, I always text you after the calls after a crazy day in America. There's been a few of them. You always have the ability to kind of bring a calm and say, hey, I can't change that stuff going on out there,
Right.
but I'll tell you what I can change: me and how I react to situations. So it starts with me. And I just want to say thank you for coming on and joining us tonight. We so appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank both of you for all the work you've done, and for all the coaches online and all the candidates and even clients that have started on this journey. Congratulations. You know, it takes courage to change. It's easier to point to someone else, but basically taking that ownership is so critical. And I'd like to end with just saying one thing. Over the last 2 decades, I have seen so many people make such dramatic changes, and the majority of them, when they started, they had no idea. They weren't even sure, but they decided to do it. They moved into that decision, and then they went with it, and their lives have changed forever. And so we need more of you to come help us build this army of health coaches to help us change this planet. I think today's just another exclamation mark that the world needs help. It needs to bring, you know, as I always love to say, our values bring us together, our beliefs separate us. And it's time for us to stand up to the things that really matter in our life, which is our health and our well-being and our ability to help others in work in collaborative ways together. So we're going to change the world. We're looking to help you do that for yourself starting this new year. So first do it for yourself and your family, and then help us go out and change the world. So thank you guys so much for having me on. God bless, guys.
At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The prior audio contained the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope those stories inspire you to continue your journey with or to consider joining Optavia. But please note that they have not been verified and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the U.S. or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with Optavia. Additionally, this audio may have contained income or earning representations of some independent Optavia coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with Optavia is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Optavia acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to Optavia coaches in the U.S., Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent Optavia coaches operating in the U.S., please see the Optavia Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of U.S. coaches under the U.S. Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent Optavia coaches operating in the U.S. under the U.S. Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in health, the Optavia team.